Good afternoon everyone and welcome to today's webinar. It's Matt that's going through today's session and we will be covering managing receipt notes and the process behind you booking your goods in. So we're going to be focusing mainly on sort of all the different sections of the receipt notes, how you can do it, what the purpose of it is, and little ways and tips that you can basically improve the amount that you have to actually do this. So the purpose of your receipt notes is after you've purchased. The receipt notes are there to basically manage how you confirm what the suppliers and what you've bought has been sent and has come in. It's you confirming that you've received the goods from the suppliers. So your list may look a little bit cleaner than this one, but under movements and then receipts on the left hand side, you will find this list. So what we always suggest is just look on the outstanding receipts that you've got within here, and basically this will show you sort of all of your receipt notes that you're expecting all your goods that you're expecting to receive the following morning. So the first thing we'll cover is how you can actually complete these and the different methods. So the first way, if you've got more than one and you've gone through your warehouse has come through and confirmed that we've received everything, we're happy with that, they can be booked in. And the reason we need to book them in is because when it comes to you delivering your goods to your customer, Prima won't allow you to confirm that if your goods haven't been booked in. So, for example, if a few of these at the bottom here have been booked in, these are the orders that have come in sort of today. Now I'll focus just on say these three here. Now the reason that I'm focusing on these three, and one thing that I will point out and something you need to be careful on, is that within here we have this receipt to column. Basically what this receipt to column does, it shows whether the receipt note that you're confirming is for goods that are coming to yourself or goods that are coming to going direct to your customer. And the reason that we can see is because of the receipt to. So if you see anything that is like these ones here where it says OTH and then your customer's account code, basically that means it's a direct delivery. Obviously we'll cover the direct deliveries a little bit more sort of onwards with a little bit of automation, so that we wouldn't expect you to complete sort of next day, and we'll cover a little bit of automation about that. You've got your pit wrap label ones, so you see a pit wrap label up here. If you do use pit wrap label as an option, then you've got these here, so you can basically just confirm sort of by order what you've got. And then down the bottom we've got some that say STK and then the depot that you're in. So for example headquarters, or if you've got a shop it might be shop. So they're the different things you need to look out for. So for the majority in here daily, you'll be completing your sort of STK headquarters, and that's basically just you confirming that you've received the goods that are meant to be delivered to you, so you can send back out to your customers. So to complete them, you highlight like this if you've got a couple, and you've got the complete button in the top right hand corner, and that will basically open up this batch complete box, and basically when you're happy with it you can hit this complete button. Now alternatively, if you've only got one to complete, you can do that process, but what you can also do is, if I just go back to our outstanding receipts, is complete them individually. So if I double click into one, we're into our receipt note here, and if I wanted to complete this, I could just hit this complete button in the top right hand corner, and I can be happy with that, and that will book the goods in. So they're the two main ways of you actually completing and how you can sort through things. Now before you actually complete, there may be times where you need to manage and change what you've received basically. So for the your pit wrap label and your STK headquarters, so your ones that are coming into yourself, your standard deliveries, there may be times where you need to change the quantity you receive because stuff might be on back order or a shortage, for example. And to do that, you actually go into the receipt note. So the paperwork that you get, you probably have some form of reference to a purchase order, which you can pop in at the top here to find that specific sort of associated receipt note. And once you're in there, if we go to the line section, we can basically see all the products that are on that receipt note, on that order that we were expecting to come in next day. So if there was any lines on here that were due to go into back order, we can easily amend the quantity that we've received in this box here. So at the minute it defaults to the number that was ordered. So for example, if we didn't receive any, we can tick this to be no, and basically that's us telling Prima that's how many we've received. Now, depending whether it's a back order and shortage is what process and what button you select next. So they're both managed sort of within basically the same process, but depending what action we choose at this point depends what happens. So just on the right hand side of the quantity received, we've got this shortage action, and basically if I just click this, we've got two options in here. The first is your receipt later, and basically what that receipt later does, it takes this line off of your dispatch note and off of your receipt note basically, and puts it into this available line. So it puts the quantity into there, and we'll come on to the available lines in a little bit, but that's how we can basically divide out our back orders. Now, if there are, if it's a shortage, you can select this return and reorder option, and basically what that will do, that will put a line into your requirements. It will put a line onto a supplier return into your supplier return section, and basically raise a shortage. You'll still need to contact your supplier another bit, but that is how you basically manage it from the receipt section to say, well, in fact, that item's now a shortage. You need to go through the process that you would. Now, if you've got any questions on shortages or back orders, we'll cover, say, the back orders in brief, but with both of them we have done previous webinars on, so if you want to focus on them specifically, take a look at the webinars covering them topics, and basically you can follow on from sort of this point of how to manage them. So a few other bits that we can actually do within here, if I just set this back to 1 for the time being, is we can actually select, if you are a company that holds a fair bit of stock and uses bin locations and have them set up with Prima, you can actually select specific locations within Prima to put that stock. So if this was a stock order, you can easily book it in directly into a location rather than having to manually sort of update that, and it's basically just selecting the warehouse location against the line here. So you can basically select which bin it's going into, potentially which sort of depot, if you book it into a different warehouse. It's just basically amending these buttons, these drop downs at the very bottom. Now, if you're a customer that uses machines, then it may be that when you're booking goods and you need to assign serial numbers to these machines, for sort of obviously for warranty purposes, whatever it may be, so you can track basically what machine you're sending out. And using this serial numbers button here, you can easily add your manufacturer's serial number to that specific batch line. So when it comes to actually selling and you need to track it for warranty and see who's actually got what items, then you can track the batch using the serial numbers that are assigned here. So rather than you having to go into the product afterwards, you can do it at the point of booking in as well. Okay, so they're just a few bits of how you actually amend the receipt note. So you've got your sort of shortage actions, whether you're going to put it onto back order or raise a shortage. You've got your warehouse, how you can select your specific bin, and that's all sort of managed within the receipt. So what we've been through, just to have a quick recap, we've been through how you can sort of complete the notes, whether you're going to complete them sort of en masse using the complete button, or whether you're going to do them one by one in the actual receipt note here after you've done your little amendment. So it may be that some items are short, some items are on back order, or you need to assign and select some bins if it's a stock order. But once you've done that, you can just go through and complete, and once you're happy with what you've actually got, it's just a simple case of completing. So following on from basically your amending notes, one of the things that you may do is amend a line on here so it goes on to back order. Now, as I said, I'll only be covering this very briefly. I won't be going into it too much in detail because we do have another webinar that covers it in full. But if you do, within the receipt note, select the option of receipt later, the shortage action, that will basically put the lines into this available lines. And basically what that is, this is all of your back order lines. So if we hit search in here, you can easily see all of your items that are on back order. So if you've got an EDI supplier, automatically the lines will come onto back order based off the date that they send back, or if it's a manual one, you may be going through the same process that we've done just to confirm what's on back order and different bits. The expected delivery date here can be updated from the PO, and it's just a case if any items do come in that is on back order, you can just come into this section, you can highlight the relevant line that's come in or lines, you can drag and drop, you can hold control on your keyboard to select specific lines as well. and it's just a case of you hitting create note, and that'll create an outstanding receipt note in the background, and allow you to complete basically the way that we've just been through. So that's the back orders in brief. If you do want to cover them sort of specifically, we do have another webinar that covers the different reports that you can set up and other bits, and put the back orders into a little bit more detail for you. But that's it in brief. This list here is your back order list. So moving on from the actual sort of receipt notes and the back orders, there are a few little bits and changes that you can actually set up to make life a little bit easier within here. And basically, we say it's the automations and settings behind this. So if I just go into, I thought I had the receipt note open. Then if I just open a receipt note and quickly click into a company, so if we go into Spices, you go into the Suppliers tab. A couple of the options for automation are within here. So the first option is your shortage action, and basically you can default what action is always sort of popping up first within that shortage action sort of drop down. It's a lot safer if you do select it as receipt later, so if you do accidentally change a quantity when it shouldn't have been, it's easier to put it onto back order than it is to delete off return and delete off your requirements and go through the entirety of that if it is an accident. So a lot of the time we suggest set this to receipt later. It just makes life a little bit easier, but it's completely down to yourself. You can basically just change this, and that's the default action that's selected. Now, the other bit of automation, which I'll just cover back to our direct delivery receipt notes. So you see here we've got a few direct delivery receipt notes that say OTH, and then it's got the customer's account code. So with these, the way that you manage them, if we were to hit complete on these, that would automatically complete the associated dispatch note within Prima. And that's how you confirm your direct deliveries. It's basically from the receipt note. Now, it's a little bit of a manual process if you don't have sort of the next section of automation set up, which we'll cover sort of shortly. So it's basically you just hoping that you know the goods have been delivered. You're relying upon the supplier and your customer to one, deliver the goods, and two, your customer to report anything if it hasn't been delivered. So you're relying upon that. So when you complete this, you know it's a little bit of a shot in the dark whether the goods have actually been delivered or not. We usually suggest leaving it a couple of days, just that in case that gives your customer sort of time to raise anything that hasn't been delivered yet. So off the back of that, something that will help is a little bit of automation. If I just go back into the company, on the supplier tab, we have this option here ticked, which basically automatically completes direct delivery notes on Invoice. So just to explain in brief what happens with this, if you tick that, when your supplier basically invoices that order, so this is either the order coming in sort of electronically within your purchase invoices, or you actually creating it manually from the available lines, at that point, once that invoice has been completed, as long as the full lines on the receipt note have been invoiced, it will automatically complete, which basically allows the order to be dispatched. So if you do have that tick box enabled, and you're keeping up to date with your invoicing, basically within this receipt section, you don't have to touch the direct deliveries. It will do it for you. So, you know, when you're getting your electronic invoices from like Vow, Spices, whoever, when it's coming in, Prima will automatically match. Obviously on a few bits, when they're automatically matching and posting straight through to your financial system, at that same time, it will complete the receipt notes. If it's a manual supplier, you know, if you're keeping on top of your invoicing, you're doing the invoicing through Prima, you're creating it from available lines. Once you've completed that, the same thing will happen if that option's ticked. It'll complete the associated receipt note and push that order through to invoicing. So the way that dispatch notes work for direct deliveries is as soon as you complete the receipt note, it completes the dispatch note, because you aren't actually sort of sending any goods direct to the customer. It's your supplier, so you don't really need to confirm that section. So there are two bits of sort of automation and settings that will help, especially direct deliveries. You know, if you're someone that uses direct deliveries a lot, it can save you a fair amount of time within this section by just having that option enabled. And then the very last sort of thing that you can do, and it may help. It may find that it makes life a little bit easier if you're someone that wants to keep on top of updating your customers when it comes to back orders. If I just go into the admin and then go into system keys, and then it's movement system keys, there's an option to place electronic direct delivery back orders into available lines. So at present, if when you EDI a direct delivery order, if there is any lines on back order, it will still create a outstanding receipt note. And whereas if it was a standard order, the line would go into the available lines up here, and basically that purchase order will be showing as a waiting receipt. For direct deliveries, it doesn't work that way. They'll be showing as stocked on pre-book. Now, when it comes to you actually getting your back order list and tallying it off, if you haven't got that option enabled and you're not someone that keeps on top by booking the rest of the goods in and not booking that one in, then it can make it sort of hard to track, especially within the reports and the automation. So if you do turn that option on within the admin, to actually put the direct delivery lines onto back order, if it's an EDI order, basically it'll split them down and it'll make life a little bit easier if you want to keep on top. So it's just something that may work for some of you, for some of you guys that use it and that want your direct deliveries to go onto back order. If not, you can keep it as is, and basically you'll just be able to manage them either through the automation or based off of the expected delivery date that's in here. So just give a bit of recap what we've covered. We've gone through booking in, dispatch notes manually, sort of one by one, or using the complete button at the top right hand corner. How you can amend your notes, so using the shortage actions to put stuff onto sort of back order or raise it as a shortage, as well as how you can add in serial numbers and your warehouse locations. Covered a bit of the back orders very briefly, just from your available lines, but as I say, there is webinars that cover the back orders and shortages sort of in detail. Then the few little bits of automations and settings that can make your life a little bit easier when it comes to the receipts. Adding a little bit of automation in there will allow you to free up some of your time, so it may be a task that someone's doing that can be freed up when it comes to the direct deliveries. But apart from that, if you've got any questions about today's session, both myself and Ollie, who's on live chat, will be hanging around for a little bit towards the end now. But apart from that, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.